let's circle back and finish up Mandrill, and then we'll get to what you're doing today, okay?
Okay, sure.
So they move off United Artists. That didn't work out too great. And then they go to Arista. Tell me what happened from there and what's your involvement. I know you came back at some point. What happened?
Yeah. So the band was rehearsing at the Wilson Brothers mother's church that she attended. And I got a phone call from Lou to come down to the church. And I said, okay, you know. And so I went down. He says, well, you know, we're getting ready to sign a new contract, you know, and we want you to be with us. And so we talked to business and all of that. And I tell you, honestly, nothing really changed. You know, business-wise, there was nothing being offered to me that was why I left in the first place, you know. So you ask yourself, then why did you come back? I came back because I loved the music, you know. And at that point, how many years had gone by? A lot of years. And if the Wilson Brothers and Coffee are going to do this, I'm going to be the drummer. And somehow in the back of my head, I always felt like they're going to make this right somehow. It's in the end, this is going to come out right. You know, just what's fair, just what's right. So I came back, you know, and that's where I met Clive Davis, where that was a very scary experience because he did not want Mandrill to produce themselves. He wanted to pick a producer. But then he says, I'll give you a handful of people to pick from. And guess one of them was the Satch from the Ohio Players. You know,
right. They had just recently signed Arista too. Yeah.
Yeah. And another one was Freddie Perrin, who was a pop producer. You know, the one we settled in with was Jeff Lane, who I guess
Brass Construction.
Yeah, and BT Express.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, he doesn't know Mandrill music. He's recording Mandrill wannabes.
Right.
And I don't mean that in a bad way, but you hear it in their music. It sounds like Mandrill music. You hear it. You know, the only thing different is they made that crossover disco kind of dance thing, but they put the hard horns and the Mandrill sound. It's in there.
For lack of a better term, it's kind of dumbed down Mandrill. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I you know, I didn't want to go that far.
Yeah.
You know. But so here's this man I'm introduced to, and he's telling me how I'm going to play drums. And he's basing it off of the gold albums that he just got from the two wannabe Mandrill bands. You know? And so technically, this is what he wanted me to do. I just recorded a song. Okay? So now I want you to go back in and I want you to double the kick and snare. You what? I want you to double the kick and snare. It's going to be fatter. I'm going, no, it's not. No, it's not. Because I learned from Eddie Kramer. You know, I learned from all these engineers about phase cancellation. And when you take a sound like a bass drum and you hit it at the same time with another bass drum, they're going to phase out. And instead of getting bigger, it's going to get smaller. All you're doing is turning up volume. You know, take away one drum and watch how big it gets. And I sat there and I told him that. And then I looked at the band and they're looking at me like, man. And I'm going, well, it's the truth. I'm not going to do it. You know, so he had me do it on Funky Monkey. And I did it because they're looking at me like, you know, so I did it on Funky Monkey. And it sounded terrible. And you hear it. You hear it. If you listen to that record now, listen to the kick and snare, and you could tell what I did. You know, the rest of it, that was when I started departing again, you know, because I walked out of the studio because this man said, look, if you don't do that, then we're just going to get somebody else to do it. And that's when I said, get somebody else to do it. It's not me.
Neftali, I just want to say that, so that album was We Are One, which was produced by
Yes.
Jeff Lane. And,
Yes.
you know, clearly on that record, it just wasn't as distinctive and was kind of simplified, for lack of a better term. And because of that, it was just less distinctive than what had preceded. So,
you know, Clive Davis just knocked the guts out of the band, trying to please him, where he had to approve every song that was given to him. You know, he didn't like none of it, you know, and, you know, the band kept album after album. After the second album, he said, I'm not even going to try to promote. You could turn in whatever you want. It's over. It's over. He wanted that first album to be like a mega hit. And he didn't let the band do what it does, you know, and no, it was just like all the guts are out of it. You know, it's even got some sadness on it, you know, but I came back and we did it, and we even did, you know, some tour dates with it, you know.
So, and the next album was New Worlds. So you were on that as well, or not?
Yes and no. That was again, I was getting into On My Way Out the Door, you know, because New Worlds, if you look at New Worlds, do I have it?
This is 1978 we're talking.
1978. If you look at the cover, I don't think I have it in front of me. If you look at the cover, it's a cover of a painting. And on the painting, there's only 4 adults and 2 children. 5 adults and 2 children. They purposely knew that. I'm still in the band, you know, and that painting is not going to work and represent the band, because if you open up the album, there they are as human beings posing as that painting, you know, and that really made me mad. It really made me mad. So I'm partly on that. Too Late, the song Too Late, that was me and Carlos Wilson. Carlos Wilson played it on piano and I played it on drums, and that's how we laid that down. I'm on a lot of the tracks, but I tell you, it was that thing where I was just not interested. And
well, for me personally, I mean, that record is too disco for my tastes. Yeah. You know, it just, the disco influences were kind of like overshadowing what had been the band.
Yeah. Yeah. Even touring, playing, you know, like those songs, you know, was kind of embarrassing in a way. You know, it's like, it's not, why are we doing songs? The only song that really caught on from that whole thing was Can You Get It? You know, and I don't even like it. I mean, I like it, but it's just different. I mean, if we did that song the way that we do that song, it wouldn't sound the way it does. It would sound more like us instead of us trying to sound like somebody else.
Well, the Mean Streets, you know? Even, I mean, sounds kind of like BT Express.
Yeah. Now you're taking now the identity of the band is kind of lost. You know, and it's just whatever, throw whatever together to get any kind of sound. And you've got to know that there's other influences involved in this whole picture, you know, keeping you further and further away from the original sound of the band, you know, to where there is no identity of what that original core had. There's no getting back to that. Because we tried, even with me in the band. No, it's not going to work, because the new players wouldn't play the parts that Coffee did. Coffee refused to come back to the band. You know, he had his own little political trip going on with them after writing so many songs, you know.
But what were the Wilson brothers? Do you think they were thinking about what was going on? Were they good with it, or were they kind of disgruntled too?
Going on with
Clive Davis and the label, and, you know, the sound.
You know, nobody liked what was going on, you know, but instead of saying, let's not do this, let's fight the contract, you know, let's not do this, especially after the first one. And then especially after Clive said, you owe me what, 6 or 5 albums? You could stop, you know? Then we could do what we want. Why didn't we do what we wanted? It never happened. That last album was really embarrassing. You will not find me on it. They got some guy who sounds like Philip Bailey to play drums and sing lead. Oh my gosh, what is that? That is so far away from Mandrill.
The record's called Getting in the Mood.
Yeah.
And I don't know what mood it was, because
I don't
and you could tell, you know, it's a dead giveaway to me with a lot of records from that era, and a lot of them were attached to Clive Davis. But you know, where the cover, you can tell that it was kind of mailed in, even. You know, I mean, that is just not.
We didn't have nothing to do with any of that.
Yeah, it doesn't have. You can tell it doesn't have the attention. You know, just kind of thrown out there.
I'll tell you a really quick story about We Are One, right? So you know those little things that we're wearing in We Are One. Do you have it?
I have that picture here somewhere.
Yeah,
I was just looking at it, but yeah.
Well, we're wearing costumes, right? Now these are. They're made out of canvas, really heavy canvas. And they have a backpack metal brace on the back of it, holding up the head. Now, there was an anvil case made for these things. So you see Mandrill faces on it, on the cover? Well, the Mandrill face is on all of it because I refused to have my face on the front of the album wearing that ridiculous costume. I thought it was just ridiculous. So if I got to be on the cover, just cover us all up, so none of our faces have to be seen. You open up the cover and it's in black and white, and you see my face. And I took like black something and I put it over my eyes like I was dead, you know, like I was totally dead to this. But we were supposed to play in these costumes where if you leaned over just a little bit like that, they'd fall over. They were so heavy. There was no way that we were going to play in these costumes, and they cost $10,000 each. They cost a lot of money.
Well, money well spent. So, did they look at you as like, oh, it's just Nefty, it's just Neftali, he's just, you know, acting like that, or did they? Yeah.
Yeah, kind of. You know, because when it came to, you know. So yeah, that was the second time I left, and the only thing after that was Energized, and I did come back for that too.
Yeah, that came out in '82.
Yeah,
and that one definitely had a big change in sound, but it was definitely better than the Arista stuff.
Better than the Arista, because it's really now Claude Coffee Cave is not in the picture. Rick is barely in the picture. Rick Wilson is barely in the picture. It's mainly Carlos and Lou. And then they called me in to play drums. And it just so happened that our manager at the time was the DJ at the radio station that pushed my record. And Barbara Mason was his wife. And she was with him. And it's like Jimmy Bishop was his name. You know, and it's like, wow, this is so cool. So we were rehearsing for the album. And so they asked me if I'd play on a certain amount of cuts. And so I did. You could probably almost guess what cuts that I'm on and that I'm not on, because I really feel that my drumming is signature. You know, I did an album with those Aleem brothers, which was called Prana. The name of the album's, the band is Prana. The name of the album is Prana. And it was on Warner Brothers. Great album. And you listen to the drumming, you know it's me.
What year was that?
What's that?
What year about was that?
So around the time that I left Mandrill. It could have been 78. Okay. You know, 78. I mean, coming back to Mandrill, because I was in the studio with them while I was in the studio with Mandrill, definitely around 78.
The Energized was funky in a way, kind of like a lot of bands were going then, kind of like a little bit like what the Barquets were doing, and with the synthesizer more prominent and the tempo, a certain tempo, but it was funky, a lot of it. So
there was this girl, and her name was Marishko, and she played on some Commodore stuff, and that's how I met her. After Lionel Richie, and she's a keyboard player, and her husband is Pee Wee, bass player, and she did the keyboard work on that, and that's mainly just kind of her heart, you know, filling in where the two brothers telling her where, you know, to fill in here, fill in there, you know, but she's got some tasty licks in there. Yeah.
So now Mandrill also was connected with at least a couple of soundtracks in the latter part of the 70s, The Greatest, the Muhammad Ali film, and The Warriors, which is a favorite Walter Hill action movie of mine. What was your involvement in those? And it just seemed like a great marriage, because a lot of the Mandrill music was kind of cinematic in its scope anyway.
Yep, sure was. It was a great marriage. Michael Masser came to the band, who wrote Mahogany, all the music for Mahogany. He wrote The Greatest Love of All. And he said he was looking for like a Black Orpheus kind of feel, you know, and he thought that Mandrill would be perfect for it. So we got a loop of the chant at the actual fight. Ali, Boombaye, Ali, Boombaye. So we took it and we looped it. Ali, Boombaye. So that became the tempo of the song, right? We didn't speed it up or slow it down. We kept it right where they were, you know, and just started jamming that song. But, you know, now Michael Masser wrote the melody, but if you get the album, we do like a whole side that it's just Mandrill jamming, you know, no lyrics or anything, you know, and we got to meet Muhammad Ali. Oh man, what a great feeling that was. His family was there. It was at Burbank Studios. It was such a great feeling. You know, they said they wanted like drums to be going in between all the music scenes, all the boxing scenes, you know, and guess what? He's playing himself. So this is right before he got sick, you know, to where he had the ability to remember the lines. Now he's not a great actor in it, but he's still Muhammad Ali.
Still has charisma. Yeah.
Yeah. He's playing himself, man. And we got to be a part of that. I tell you, at the premiere, he asked that George Foreman not be present at the event. And it was in Century City, and it was a couple levels, and we were having a party down on the low level, and George Foreman started climbing down from the third level down to where the party was, and kind of created a scene, you know, and it was like, man, I'm part of this movie too, you know, and it was okay, you know, but it was like, he could have hurt himself. He could have hurt other people. You know, he wasn't the George Foreman we know now.
No, he was a loose cannon.
Yeah, he was really bad back then. You know, so Muhammad Ali was really sweet, and I got to jam with George Benson. Wow. You know, which George Benson, that song was recorded in the wrong key for him. It was supposed to be a lower key, but he's such a nice guy. He just didn't say anything. And then when I talked to him, he's going, yeah, it was supposed to be in my key, but yeah, it's cool. It's all right. You know, you can't tell. He messed up. Of course, Whitney Houston tore it up, but he did it first. You know, he did it first.
I don't care about the key thing. I always liked his version. That's the one I knew first. So I'm partial to it. You know.
Yeah, that was great. Now, the Warriors, that was very, very interesting, my friend. The Warriors was a time when I was working on Santiago material. Freak came from right when I was working on the Warriors album. In Havana was brought to me, and In Havana was a song where Ishmael Miranda, it's a 45, and he goes, in Havana, in Havana. The rest of the song was not used. They just sampled in Havana. And I was supposed to come up with this funky Latin arrangement, horn, strings, everything. And I did. And It was supposed to be for the Santiago album. So right when I'm finishing it, I'm seeing Chevy Chase come into the room. I'm seeing Kenny Vance. I know you. Yeah. They pat me on the back. Man, great job. And I'm going, what's going on? Nobody told me what was going on. Kenny Vance was getting ready to do my vocal on the track and use it for the Warriors. It was now not my track at all. But not only was it, I was not going to sing it, but it wasn't written or by me at all. I got no royalties at all for writing that track. They have on the album, they put my name down 3 times. Now, I did the rhythm track arrangement. They had me down for that. I did the horns, and I still have the charts from paying somebody to do the horn charts for me. And I did the strings, you know, and that's basically the whole thing, you know. And yeah, not made 1 cent. And then they re-released the soundtrack from that just recently, which looks beautiful, you know. And I'm sure they're making a ton of money off of that. But that was in Havana. But echoes in my mind that Mandrill did. I'm not on that song.
Oh,
it's someone else.
Huh.
And Luther Vandross is singing background on that.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
Not that you didn't get credit, but very cool to have been on those soundtracks and meet Muhammad Ali and all that.
Yeah, it was very cool. That was another highlight.
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah, I have pictures.
So, Last Mandrill came out in '82. Why did the band break up pretty much for good as a studio act from that point?
Well, honestly, what happened was there was a big split between the Wilson brothers and Claude Coffee Cave. And there was a lot of funny business going on, you know. And the Wilson brothers separated for him. It just wouldn't work. The Wilson brothers by themselves. It wouldn't work. So there was, 20 years went by, you know. And Claude has never returned to the music scene since then. That's it. It's sad. It's totally sad. I used to talk to him all the time on the phone. Now I don't talk to him anymore. And I tried to get him to come back because at the end of our interview, you'll know that I'm getting ready to do this Mandrill thing again, you know. And I called upon, you know, a lot of original members, you know. It's scared to try to reproduce a sound that is so made such an impact, you know. But it's possible. It's possible. And I believe that I'm doing it, you know. And so yeah, you know, the Montreux album was okay, you know, Live at Montreux. Have you heard that?
Yeah, I have the control.
Oh yeah, actually, I'm the one who designed that cover. I put that.
I saw your credit on there. I was going to ask you about that. Yeah.
I figured the Wilson brothers are. Yeah. I'm smiling because I'm proud of it. You know, I wanted to put that the Wilson brothers are multi-talented in a physical way, and separating them from what they do. They do a lot, you know, and so that became my drive for that cover. You know.
Yeah, well, I definitely recommend people pick this up if they don't have it. So is this kind of the last best band document as of right now, or?
As of right now.
Yeah. So let's talk a little more, Neftali, about what you're doing now. The band you got together. You have a sample of it up on the internet. People can check out, and you're going to be getting out there. So tell us all about that.
Yeah. Well, the band is Funkadrill. You know, I decided not to use anything like the Mandrill Experience or, you know, Mandrillis. All these names started going through my head. And I'm going, no, that would be like a cover tribute kind of thing. And I was there. So I don't want to call it that. But I wanted to give honor to to the funky side of Mandrill. You know, I didn't want to do any songs that dealt with lead vocals or that were signature, you know, to one person. So I wanted to do what I thought the people wanted to hear, which was more of the funky side of Mandrill. You know, I mean, I've been doing this for forever. I left the band in 2005. You know, that was my last gig with Mandrill. You know, so people would say, "Oh, why don't you do these songs all together?" And you know, so this medley started forming in my head, and so I put together this 24-minute medley that it's really dynamite, and it deals with a lot of the Mandrill funk hits. You know, and I call that the drill experience. You know, that part of the show is the drill experience. And, you know, sometimes we might be asked to just do 24, 25 minutes, you know, and I would just do that set. But if we were calling on a gig to do Santiago music, I would do all of it, you know, especially, I know you're going to talk about Gary and Boogie, and we have to talk about that, you know, and I will Release the Funk is the first song I'm going to do of the night. You know, we're going to come through the audience singing that song.
Yeah, what a great track. And I mean, you can see the video and hear it on YouTube. And man, it's like, it conjures up, you know, the classic P-Funk feel, which is not easy to do, especially without George involved. And I think it's also just great because, you know, Gary Scheider and Boogie, you know, they were such a tremendous part of that whole movement, that whole sound, and they're not with us anymore. They Boogie passed away about a year ago or so, and Gary, I think, in 2010. So tell us how you connected with, I mean, I know you had known them from years back, but how did you connect for this project, and what's happening with it?
It was around the time of Lollapalooza, when P-Funk was on the road on that tour, in '94. It's really emotional for me to talk about Boogie and Gary, because they were really good friends of mine. And during that Lollapalooza tour, the last date was at the Palladium here in California. And I asked Boogie if he would come over to my place where I was recording some stuff. I said, man, we could just jam, you know. And it was late at night. I think it was about, you know, 2:30, 3 o'clock at night. And he's just, you know, just starts that rhythm guitar. That's just a haunting rhythm guitar. It's just so funky. You know, it's got a little out of tuneness to it that makes it even more funky. You know, that when I tried to put it in tune, it didn't work. It didn't work, you know. And so I'm there with a drum machine, and the song is called Gonna Make Funky, the first version of it. When you see the LP, it's going to have both versions on it. And it's me playing a drum machine, and George Black played bass and keyboards. Now it's about 3:45 in the morning. We get a call. Well, Boogie gets a call from Scheider. And Gary said, I know you're not over there recording without me. And Boogie said, man, we just doing a little thing, man. It's no big thing at all, man. It's no big thing at all, man. He says, no. Let me hear it. And we played over the phone. I'm on my way, man. Where are you? You know, and he's like cursing and cursing and cursing. I'm on my way. I'm on my way. And he comes in. He's going, okay, I'm going to need about 7 tracks. And we're going, it's only 8 tracks. It's only 8 tracks. He's okay. How many tracks are available? Like he's okay, erase some of that so I can double and triple and do what I got to do, you know. So he did what he got to do, and you know, then I came back and I put drums on it after they were on tour. They were on tour, you know.
We're always on tour.
Huh?
It seemed like they're always on tour.
They were always on tour. They really were, because, well, I have a concept behind that, but you know, it's not healthy to be on tour all the time. You have to take a breath, and you everybody needs R&R, you know. But the thing about when he walked in, he says, "Do you mind if I put on the same old, same old?" And I'm going, "What do you mean by that?" He says, "Well, you know, I'm not really giving credit for a lot of stuff, man, but let me just put on something that I know I did, you know." And the melody is very similar to a melody if you hear it in another song, a Parliament song, you know. But that's where it stops. It does not sound like, it sounds like a P-Funk record, but it does not sound like a ripoff because it's not, you know. So he played rhythm guitar, Boogie played rhythm guitar, George Black played bass, and I played drums, and that was gonna make funky, and it didn't sound very good. I didn't feel like it should come out, you know, and they were on the, you know, they didn't care, you know, they didn't care if it came out or not, but I did. I thought it was like just way demo, you know. But then Gary passed away. And I started listening to the tracks because I own the masters. And I'm going, what am I missing here? Why is this so weird that I don't want to put it out? And George Black says, I know what. I said, what? He says, it's in the wrong mode. I said, what do you mean it's in the wrong mode? He says, you're playing it in the wrong mode. Let's join them. And when we joined them, George Black did all the keyboard work. And he studied Bernie. You know, George Black is an amazing musician. He did the lead guitar solo on it. He played the keyboards on it. He did the bass on it. You know, and we took Gary's vocals, which is the do, that's Gary's part, and the bridge, and incorporated it into this new version of him and Gary playing the guitar. So we just looped the guitar and I redid the drums and we redid everything, you know. So we kept the best from what they were offering from Gonna Make Funky. And I wrote lyrics to Release the Funk, and I wrote a whole song, which it's pretty long, you know, in length, but it just keeps going. Ricky Vincent, which I'm sure you know who he is, he started playing it immediately, you know, and he just loved it. It's like ridiculously good, you know. And then Funkadrill Rhythm just came out in October, you know, and that's not with Gary. That's with that's a story, because this label called Tapestry hired me and Boogie to write a song for these rappers. And these two rappers were the only artists on the label. And they wanted to write a tribute song.
Sounds like your Bamboo days.
Yeah. They wanted to write a tribute song to the funk, you know? And me and Boogie said, cool, you know? So we got in the studio and she paid us. She did pay us some pretty good money, you know? And that's basically why we did it. You know, we heard the rappers and we were not impressed. We were not impressed with what they were doing. And it became, well, let's do whatever we want. And at that point, me and Boogie are arguing over what's funky and what's not. And it was a guitar part that he had, you know, and I'm going, it's out of tune. He's going, it's not out of tune. It's out of tune. Tune it up, man. It's not out of tune. MTV starts coming in with the cameras. But me and Boogie, we don't even care if they're there. There's a conversation going on about the funk, you know, and he's like, you cannot eliminate the dirt. The out-of-tuneness was the dirt. You know, if you straighten that out, it's not going to be funky now. I'm not going to do it. And so we compromised. So I said, is that how the night's going to go? And so what I did was I pieced together the whole song from just different clips of the night, you know, and made a song out of it. And I hired Daryl Fennessy to do the vocals, which Daryl Fennessy did all, Michael Jackson's background vocals. And I said, you got to put a team together, and the bass has to sound like Ray. He has to sound that good.
It does.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. So I'm telling young players out there, it is possible to recreate funk without sampling it and without mimicking it, without carbon copying it, but to take the essence and make it your own. It's still possible to do that. I have hope that funk will make a comeback. I do.
I have big hope. And there's, the one thing about, the record business now, if you do funk, it's almost impossible for you to get exposure through the traditional record business. But thanks to the internet, and touring, that's the way you can do it. And if you look, you can still find some hopes out there.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I'm looking for. This tour is very exciting, because I'm challenged with lots of health issues. And I'm going to share with you and your audience, because you're just not going to believe it. You saw the clips of me playing at EKO. And what did you think of that?
It was excellent. Not only were you on spot, but the whole band was terrific.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're dealing with a man that has prostate cancer that metastasized to his bones.
Oh.
That they told me 4 years ago that I only had a year and a half to live.
Wow.
And I've been on all kinds of holistic therapies, but I'm not going nowhere. I'm going on tour. And it will be my last tour, not because I'm going to die, because I just don't want to, there's other things I want to do before I leave this planet. So this tour is really going to be the last time you hear me playing Mandrill music, Santiago music. I'm on more of a spiritual level of writing now, where I really feel like God is healing me. And that's why I've gotten as far as I have,
Well,
I don't think
I'm shocked and sorry to hear that, but I'm so glad to hear you're doing as well as you are, and just
thanks to him. Yeah, thanks to him. And I really want to do this, and I think the fans need to hear it. And while I'm out there and the fans are hearing this beautiful music that Mandrill laid down, and Santiago Band, and then Boogie and Gary, that they're hearing a man that's broken physically, and I'm playing like it was 1974, and only I can do that because God gives me the strength through his spirit to do it. These doctors are all amazed at where I'm at. They all, I was put on hospice. You're dying, so just lay down and die. Take your morphine and your Ativan and just lay down and die. And I said, you know what? I don't think so. And I've watched Boogie and Gary, and I've watched, Bernie, and I've watched too many people go, and I'm out there sending a different kind of message. Take care of yourself. It's not too late. There's alternatives to chemotherapy and radiation out there. Look at me. Look at me. I got a little dark circles around the eyes, but man, when I get behind those drums, I am killing it. I am killing it. In fact, I feel sorry for the other people on the bill as back in the day, because it's just not going to stop. Well, I'm not going to take time to get my breath or anything. I'm just going.
Never underestimate the power of the mind, of the spirit. Mm-hmm. And also, I think, personally, I think the funk too, because that's part of spirituality to me.
Yeah. So. Well, I want to pass it on. That's not been done yet. Drummers ask me constantly when I'm out there. Well, I was just out there when I did the EKO thing. I went to this fundraiser for Boogie, and all kinds of people were there, and they were all like, "Oh my gosh!" They couldn't even believe I was alive still, yet looking good. And they're all, it's like this ray of hope is coming in. Like, well, maybe it's going to come back, and it can come back, and it will come back. And just like, P-Funk has their camp of people. It's like I kind of bridge the gap between Mandrill and P-Funk, and my sound is kind of, all encompassing now, where I really incorporate both those sounds on stage, and I would like to take some young people under my wing, and bring them up, as long as I can do this, I will be doing it. So
Well,
as long as
God
God
bless
wants
you. I
me
mean,
out there, yeah, and we're working with homeless agencies and food pantries everywhere we go. We're lining our dates up to where I get in contact with churches or groups that need help, needs maybe some media attention, to their because there's so many homeless people today, and a lot of people are one check away from it. One check away. I'm seeing families out there begging for money, and they don't want to be. They don't want to be out there.
No.
They don't belong out there. This is America, the United States of America, and we shouldn't have this homeless situation. So I'm gonna bring awareness. I'm not just getting out there from my deathbed to go one more time to play Mandrill music or Funkadrill music. No, it's a bigger calling. It's to bring as many people as I can out of wherever they are, man. I'm to help as any way I can, and awareness. And you never know who's going to be at a concert that might have a check for a lot of money that's going to give it to a group right there that needs it. You just never know. People can bring out food, to concerts, and I have these big barrels, It's all about people, and Mandrill's all about feel-good music, and that's why people like hearing it. 70s music, it takes them back to a time, and unfortunately, a lot of drugs are connected to that time, but music is more than drugs, So when I see these people, and I tell you, man, I've seen a lot of them when I was in New York. I seen a lot of people come up to me that were working with George way back in the day that remember me. And I look at them and they're broken. They're broken. And they look at me like, what's your secret? How you doing it? I said, man, it's all about God. And it's got to be more than that. I said, you got to take care of what's inside. You can't be eating at McDonald's and stuff. This is all junk food. You got to take care of the temple, and I am a preacher, but I'm not trying to preach to people. I'm trying to reach people with my message.
Help them help themselves.
That's it. Yeah.
Well, wow, it's powerful. And, God bless you and more power to you for all that.
You too. And wait a minute. Because if it wasn't for you and Ricky Vincent, there's a few other people, but you're doing it in a video way, which is so cool because this is invaluable stuff. Next year, you might be playing these tapes and I might be gone. You just never know.
Well,
you never know.
Thank you, but
I sure hope you've got a lot of people. Hamish, you've got a lot of good interviews. You've got a lot of interviews with young folks. That are coming into the funk, like Garrett Scheider, who's just coming into his own, who admits blindly that he's a work in progress.
Yeah. Refreshing, right?
Yeah, it's refreshing. And I'm not selfish with my time. I'm here, man. And I'm trying to get on tour. It's like, how do you get on tour at my age, and without using the name Mandrill? There'll be a way. And those cities are my track cities. New Jersey, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. That's the vision that I'm getting. Go there because people there really need to hear what you have to say. They need to. I'm permanently disabled. I mean, 4 years ago, I was in a wheelchair, my friend, in bed, and I couldn't get out. That's 4 years ago. Now I walk with a cane for security, but sometimes I don't even need a cane, and boy, that's inner strength is right.
Yeah.
That inner strength. It's because I want to show people just because you got cancer, you don't have to die, and musically don't wait to die and put that on your families to raise money for you. That's hard on them. You know, people like Gary Scheider and Boogie should not be, their family should not be thinking about money right now. They really shouldn't. They
No.
should really be living off of the benefit of royalty.
Well, also,
You know,
I
and
mean,
that's all.
decades have gone by. We saw that happen to so many of the blues guys. And,
Yeah.
I thought that we would finally move past that, with these guys, and we're still seeing it, which is just so tragic.
Yeah.
But thank goodness there's people like you, spreading the word,
Well,
and also doing things that help make a difference. So
you have to keep it real, and it doesn't make sense for me to get on and talk to you without being real. I'm here to promote my record, the tour. Well, yeah, I am, but that's not the only reason. And that's, if it was, I wouldn't be doing it. I just wouldn't be doing it.
well, I so appreciate that. I wanted to ask you one more question before we kind of wrap things up. I so appreciate your generosity of time. All great conversations. Time flew by, and I can't believe we've been doing this as long as we have, but it's been fantastic.
How much time has gone by?
Well, it's been a couple hours.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, hard to believe, right?
Yeah.
So we've talked so much about funk, and you're getting back to it with the concert tour that you're working on right now, and the essence of Mandrill funk. So what does that form of music, that genre, what does it mean to you? How does it affect you, and why do you think it's unique and special?
The 70s genre, you mean, of funk?
Real funk. Yeah.
Real funk. Yeah. Well, it's special to me because I helped create it, for one.
Yeah.
And it's important to me that it be carried forth, for two. It was only for the 70s because I tell you, there's no bands that came out of the 70s with the strength and the creativity from the original 12, and I think that there's amazement coming out of young people today. I'm seeing them play amazing instruments and do amazing things. And if they can hear what real music sounds like, maybe they can go to their garage and get horn players at a jazz band and put a horn band together and create some funk that's unique to them. If they hear that it's possible to create something unique without copying, because a lot of that George Clinton stuff, people that are working with him, all their stuff sounds like Parliament stuff. All of it. None of it's unique. Eddie Hazel's album, though, California Dreamin', man, I love that. I love his guitar playing. And he was
James and guitar things.
Yeah, he was close to my heart, man. And he brought somebody up. He brought somebody up. Tracy. Spacey T is what he called himself. He's from a band called Sound Barrier. Tracy Singleton. And he's a guitar player that Eddie took under his wing. And on the Funkadrill album, he's playing a lot. And we did a Maggot Brain just as a salute to Eddie, because we know we can't come out with it. Somebody else wrote this song. But we just wanted to do it, and I put 9/11 footage behind it. And wait till you hear that. It's a giveaway thing, because he makes a point that you can play Maggot Brain with the same intensity without playing Maggot Brain. And I know you're probably going, I wonder what that sounds like. It sounds great, and I'll make sure I get you a copy of that. But this Funkadrill album it's not old. It's pretty new. The oldest songs are those two from back in the day, and then the rest are from now. They're all from now.
So when can we expect to see that? And you have the tour. So how can everyone keep up with everything that's Neftali Santiago and Funkadrill and the tour and the album and all this? So,
well, I'm glad you asked me that. Well, I'm on Facebook, Funkadrill Santiago, Funkadrill. You can always find me using that word. NeftaliSantiago.com is my website. And I know a lot of people come on your show going, oh, I got to update my website. Well, I do too, but it's not that outdated. It's got some really good stuff up there. And so NeftaliSantiago.com. But Funkadrill, Facebook is something to watch out for. I also have YouTube, Funkadrill, YouTube. And it's got all the Mandrill stuff up there, plus anything that I'm doing now. And I'm taking a video camera, and I'm going to be chronically filming this whole tour and everything that happens on it. So it's all going to be up on YouTube.
I hope you're not going to try to film it while you're drumming.
Yeah, I'm doing it. Well, it's going to be a live show. So it's going to be like I'm trying to really work it out with YouTube that it's pretty much 24 hours. I mean, we're going to go to sleep and it's going to be down, but things happen when people wake up and cameras need to go back on. And it's, like Big Brother almost, but in a great way, because the journey, who knows what's going to happen on that journey? I don't, it's just going to be fun to find out what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Who shows up and so I'm excited. I'm really excited. I want everybody, please buy the records. There's 2 records out now on YouTube, Release the Funk and Funkadrillic Rhythm. And then there's the Santiago album. It's everywhere. I can't believe the record company did so well with this. And, I just got to say thank you to a couple people. And, there's a couple really good articles about Mandrill. And that's Matt Rogers and Jim McCarthy. And they wrote the best articles on Mandrill that I've ever heard, and that's about it, man. I want people to be looking forward to seeing my new band, because it is smoking. You got a little sample of it.
Yeah, no, they're like, hey, just don't believe me. Just go take a look on YouTube. I mean, you guys are, and I was just getting started. I can imagine after you even gel some more.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Very cool.
Well, thank you for having me, Scott.
Hey, it's been a blast. Thank you so much
Mhm.
for sharing your generosity of time and all those great stories. And my gosh, I may look a little bit like a vampire thing here now. I had to turn on the light so I can read the closing, but I'm going to close this out. I want you to stick around. Don't go anywhere.
I'll do those commercials, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it is time to wrap up this edition of Truth and Rhythm. It has to wrap up at some point. It's been a blast. Huge thanks again to my special guest, Neftali Santiago, the legendary multi-genre drummer of Mandrill and in his own right. Thank you so much again. And on behalf of all the viewers, thank you.
You're welcome.
And sincere thank you to the viewers and listeners. Be sure to look out for upcoming Truth and Rhythm episodes. Catch up with previous installments at funkinstuff.net on YouTube, iTunes, and other leading podcast providers for the audio version. If you're a music industry figure who wants to be on the show, drop me an email at scottg@funkinstuff.net. Or if you're a viewer who wants to see a particular artist on the show, do the same. We'll try to make it happen for you. So until the next time, on behalf of Neftali, this is Scott, Dr. GX Goldfine, as always, saying keep on vibrating to the rhythm of the one.